She is. Good morning, everybody. This is a live severe weather briefing. Here she is. There's Gizmo. So today we're going to be discussing and chasing this moderate risk across the South Plains of Texas, southern Texas Panhandle, even down into the Permian Basin. Basically includes Lubbock, down toward Midland, off to the east as well, as Gizmo's digging into my leg there. But this is the moderate risk area, and this is mainly for the threat of very large destructive hail here. This does include basically the Plainview area, down toward Midland, out toward Abilene on the I-20 corridor, and the enhanced risk goes all the way out toward Dallas. So late night tonight, that tornado threat could spread into portions of southwestern Oklahoma, even into north central Texas there. I'm going to be targeting this dry line that's going to move from southeastern New Mexico into West Texas, and it looks like there's also going to be an outflow boundary down into the South Plains of Texas, and that's going to allow for some easterly winds at the surface to locally enhance that bulk shear there across the South Plains of Texas and the Permian Basin down there as well. And really we just need to find that moisture tongue where it intersects with that outflow boundary. There are mid-60s dew points down there near the Midland area. Those are going to slowly lift off to the north as that low-level jet develops. And we're going to look at some photographs as well. We'll pull up the surface map here. And let's break down this setup really quickly. Not too quickly, but I do need to hit the road here shortly. I'm about 4 hours from the target area right now. So first, let's break down this HRRR model. Then we'll look at the surface map as well. And then take Gizmo out to produce a stool before we hit the road. But this is the 500 millibar pattern. And look at this potent jet streak coming in the mid-levels of the atmosphere from eastern New Mexico, southeastern New Mexico, into the South Plains of Texas here, right over the Cap Rock. That's a 50-knot jet streak that moves in here right at peak heating. So this is 21Z. So this is definitely setting the stage for a pretty substantial severe weather event. And this is at 21Z, and you've already got 30 knots at 700 there. That's basically just above your low-level jet level here at the surface. You've got, or closer to the surface, you've got these east-southeasterlies in the vicinity of that outflow boundary. You get a meso-low down near Midland as well. And just to the north of that is where I expect that moderate risk and where I expect the greatest concentration of severe weather. And even the HRRR is showing mid-60s dew points here, low to mid-60s dew points. So we're probably going to verify about 5 degrees higher than that, probably 65, even 64, 65 type of a dew point up there. And the Cap Rock is a big deal out there, folks. Trust me on that. That's a pretty substantial environment already by 21Z. So this isn't going to be a day where these storms wait to develop near evening, and then the low-level jet ramps up, and then they start producing. This is going to be one where they start producing right out of the gate, likely. So this will be about 3 to 4 p.m. southwest of Lubbock down here, near the border of New Mexico as well, maybe even on the New Mexico side initially. Wouldn't be surprised if I do get a tornado on the New Mexico side here in east central New Mexico, maybe out even near the Clovis area. Or you could work further south, due south of Lubbock down near Midland. Looks to be an area that could set up quite favorably. This is your 0 to 3 kilometer energy helicity index, the combination of surface-based CAPE and that 0 to 3 kilometer shear. I use the 0 to 3 kilometer indices a lot in these high plains, because usually you get about 2 kilometers of easterlies before they flip around to westerly, and the 0 to 3 kilometer indices really capture that flip around a lot better than 0 to 1. But with this system, an ejecting jet streak like this, you have pretty good, quite good wind shear, increasing bulk shear above 40 knots. So we have more 0 to 6 kilometer bulk shear today than we've had any of the previous days during High Plains Insanity. And High Plains Insanity culminated in a tornado, an elephant trunk tornado. But really the epic structure was the story yesterday. And I shared that photo from Blake Brown. I might meet up with Blake. Maybe with Connor later on today, but I've got so much stuff packed in my car. I pretty much have my whole life in my car, including my bike on the back. So I'm hoping that my bike can handle the gorilla hail out there. So really the target is, do I head out toward Clovis to the west of Lubbock out here, or do I work the absolute greatest instability a little bit further south down toward Midland? I'm leaning a little bit toward just heading west toward Lubbock. I think that the best wind shear is going to be in that location. You do kind of have these strung out photographs, but when your storm relative wind and your east-southeasterly storm motions, when you get these right movers, you can squeeze out quite a bit of storm relative helicity out of that. And look at this sounding here. You have easterlies up to about 1 kilometer, and then you flip around to that low-level jet, which is going to be increasing through the afternoon from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then you've got that jet streak, 50 knots out of the west-southwest there at 500. And that's why you've got such extreme bulk shear. With those east-southeasterly winds at 15 knots at the surface, and then your 6-kilometer wind out of the west-southwest at 50 knots, you're talking about 60 knots of bulk shear with that jet streak ejecting out over this bulge, outflow boundary, dry line intersection. Looks like the outflow boundary, dry line intersection could be kind of a meso-low down near Midland, but then you get a northwestward extension of that outflow boundary with easterlies off to the north of it up toward Clovis. And that could also be an interesting area. Here's your significant tornado parameter at 22Z. And watch this increase as we go through the day. It does look like just to the west of Lubbock seems to be the place to target. And if you go down toward Midland, you might get pinched a little bit. It seems like you want to play the cap rock up here. Definitely want to play the geography. Play that higher plateau up there. The cap rock escarpment here. So I think that this is a lot of wind shear here, a lot of moisture up on the cap rock, strong 700 flow that increases with time as you get closer to 7 p.m. This is 7 p.m. here at 700, and this is definitely a substantial severe weather event. And that's why we have this moderate risk in place. And look at these easterlies increase as well. So your bulk shear only gets greater as we go toward 0Z there. And let's take a look now finally at the simulated composite reflectivity on just this run of the HRRR. And it shows that monster down there that tracks basically from Midland along the I-20 corridor, eventually getting close to Abilene as you get just a little bit after sunset. And then you get these renegades also, Lubbock off to the northwest of Lubbock near Clovis. Oh boy, look at those monsters. And you get a Del Rio monster there coming out of Mexico toward Del Rio. Some forward propagation here. Growing upscale. This storm kind of becoming from the storm scale into the mesoscale. You also get that. But look at this arc of supercells. With one of the more dangerous ones there, kind of on the southern end, it looks like. Greater moisture down near Midland, or do you target the Cap Rock escarpment up here to the west of Lubbock? Looking at the surface map, it is possible that the deeper moisture could be just a little bit to the southeast of the South Texas plains, south of Lubbock, maybe Tahoka, down toward Midland. Wouldn't be a bad target. Probably going to develop to the southwest of Lubbock. Sharp dry line. Dew points drop into the single digits there across southern New Mexico. Just an incredible setup. Deep moisture. It's May, so you get these deep moisture plumes down into South Texas that are feeding these severe weather events. And I do think that Tuesday could be interesting, somewhere down in the Texas Hill Country. San Saba down there, maybe Central Texas as well, probably to the south of the I-20 corridor. But we're going to take a look at that. Haven't looked at that in just in quite some time, as I've been so focused on today. 0 to 3 kilometer EHI, quite robust. So you can really see this plume feeding that storm off to the south. And let's look at a forecast sounding there at 8 p.m. And those photographs really elongate down there. Look at that curvature to that flow. Look, you have these strong easterlies. You get a strong low-level jet increasing above 30 knots. You got your mid-level jet west-southwesterly at 50 knots. Big Cape, this dashed line, that's parcel ascent. The red line there is the environmental temperature. So at any level, when this infinitesimal hot air balloon is warmer than that red line, it's going to keep on rising all the way up to that equilibrium level, which usually signifies close to the top of the storm. Often they'll poke into the stratosphere. Look at this double-barreled elevated mix layer. You have one up in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, about 6 kilometers. Another little gipper there, about 3 or 4 kilometers. Your elevated mix layers get higher as we go toward late spring into the summer. But still, they get the job done. Look at that 0 to 3 kilometer Cape, 77 over 68. Cape, 3,900 with this sounding. 0 to 1 kilometer SRH 164, and then look at your 0 to 3 kilometer shear 388, really capturing that directional shear and the increase in the magnitudes throughout that layer. These are some big numbers here streaming into that, even though this is at 8 p.m., so this is going to be just before sunset down there, and it's only going to be ramping up with time. But I look for these 0 to 3 kilometer shear and surface-based instability, moisture plumes when I'm targeting the high plains. This is kind of a hybrid setup between a high plains setup and more of a tornado alley, traditional Great Plains. You get the directional shear, you get those easterlies at the low levels, but you also get a strong southerly low-level jet about 2 to 3 kilometers up, and you get that speed max. This is just a big textbook panhandle, severe weather outbreak. Just for fun too, let's look for a sounding up here. You don't have the thermodynamics up near Clovis to the west of Lubbock, it looks like, at least according to the HRRR model here. Still decent hodograph, decent shear everywhere. Manageable storm motions, 10 to 20 knots out here too. Right movers turning off to the east-southeast, but the HRRR is certainly arguing playing down south of Midland. Looking at the 3 kilometer NAM, quite strong agreement with this off to the southwest of Lubbock here. That's at 1Z as well. This is at 0Z, 7 p.m. Really moist, strongly sheared environment, but really just go to the bright colors here. Work that dry line, outflow boundary intersection to the southwest of Lubbock. Probably going to have warmer temperatures in this with that elevated mixed layer. 65 dew point out there. Easterlies flipping around to westerly. Big looping hodograph as well there with those easterlies. Textbook high plains hodograph with those 2 kilometer winds over in the northwestern portion of that hodograph plot. So I'm going to head out here in about a half hour. I'm definitely hoping that Gizmo produces a stool. Look at this. The 3 kilometer NAM has been overdoing dew points just a bit here. But this is going to be banked right up on the edge of that Cap Rock escarpment, near 70 dew points. You'll probably have upper 60s here, banking up against that Cap Rock escarpment, which is located here over the Texas Panhandle. Yesterday, that storm fired right on top of the Cap Rock. Plenty of moisture there, those mid-50s dew points, for that to produce a beautiful tornado, elephant trunk tornado out there beneath epic structure there on the Cap Rock escarpment. To the northwest of Leveland. And then down near Spade, Texas. And picking that. That's your 0 to 3 kilometer NAM. Let's see what it does with that speed max in the mid-levels. And it also has that arc-shaped potent speed max arriving at 21Z. So at 3 or 4 p.m., these storms are going to fire probably just on the New Mexico side to the southwest of Lubbock, northwest of Midland there. And that's at 21Z. Southwest of Lubbock, down here, northwest of Midland. That looks like exactly where that plume is going to set up. Looking at the surface map, you can see a 67 dew point there. This is Big Spring. This is the Midland area right in that zone. Permian Basin. You got those east-northeasterlies. So the outflow boundary is right there, right even with the New Mexico-Texas border, even with Monahans, Sand Hills, extending off to the east, probably pretty close to that. South of the I-20 corridor for sure. Just south, though, and this boundary should slide just a little bit north and settle in between Lubbock and the Midland area there. South Plains of Texas. One of my favorite places to chase down here. That storm yesterday was in my favorite place to chase as well. So what the wrap shows. The wrap shows that the wrap says Del Rio. Just commit to Del Rio and call it good. But it also does strengthen this plume up into the southwest of Lubbock here. This is at 23Z. So it does show that environment down there into the South Plains of Texas, that plume of 0 to 3 kilometer shear instability, streaming into the South Plains of Texas. And you also have this plume heading into Del Rio down there as well. So I think this is going to be another textbook Del Rio event. Looking at your significant tornado parameter on the wrap. Definitely argues Del Rio with that plume of moisture and shear streaming up into that zone. But then by 0Z, the South Plains of Texas start to get a little bit more favorable as well as that low-level jet increases. You've got that plume there of mid to upper 60s streaming up into that edge of the cap rock. You've also got this plume of deeper moisture down toward the Del Rio area. Here is that moderate risk. Mainly for hail. That's the hail zone there, 45 hatch area for hail. Lubbock all the way to Abilene, basically the moderate risk area. And look, we've got a 10% tornado zone now that has been added to the south of Lubbock, all the way up toward the Vernon area. So this is breaking news, folks, increasing those tornado probabilities. So it is time for me to hit the road, and I'm headed toward Lubbock. Probably will drop south out of Lubbock, wait for those storms to initiate, and we are going to be full-blown chase mode today, folks. Tornado Alley here, peak season. It's May. May is the new May. We are back out here. We got a 10% risk. Probably need to add a 5% down there near Del Rio, too, just because you know how it goes down there. Even Houston is in that 2% area with those basically moist feeder bands and convection coming ashore. We did have a water spout come ashore down, I think, south of Corpus, maybe just north of Corpus down there. A pretty strong water spout that thankfully was out over some rural beaches out there in South Texas. But here is that 10% stripe. There it is. And we agree. Definitely. Chase mode is activated. Thank you, everybody. I got to hit the road. It is time to get south of Lubbock. Never stop chasing.